welcome to the Cruising is Life podcast. Whether you're a seasoned cruiser or just starting out, we have something for everyone. So sit back, relax, and get ready to set sail with us on the Cruising is Life podcast.
All right, hello everyone. Welcome back to the Cruising is Life podcast. Welcome back for another episode. Today we're kind of diving into not just one specifically, but all of the future cruise ship orders and next generation cruise ships. So it seems like everybody's kind of placed their orders. But yeah, before we get started, of course, welcome back as always, our co-hosts Justin and Dimitri. How's it going, guys?
Hello.
All right, and quick thing for the live chat here. If the audio is having any issues or any issues with the stream, please let us know. Apparently there's been some audio issues that I just now caught today over like the last 2 weeks. So if anybody's any quiet or like too quiet or anything like that, just let us know. We can kind of adjust, which is kind of the nice part about doing this live. But anyways, before we dive in, or I guess as we start to dive in, we've got a lot of new cruise ship orders that have been placed in the last week, and we'll start out with Disney, just because theirs was over the weekend. But like, is there any cruise lines or any ones that are like standing out to you the most that you're most excited to like kind of see and hear about?
I'm excited for Norwegian's new order. They're big ones. I'm interested to see what they're going to do with that.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm interested to see kind of how that plans out.
I agree too, because they haven't really dabbled in the space. Obviously, like Encore's 170, that's big, but not as big as the rest. But even MSC that they're saying they're going to go even bigger than Europa, that's crazy.
Bigger than Icon.
Yeah,
which is crazy to think about. Really, out of like the main four as of right now, MSC technically is the only one that hasn't placed their next gen ship order yet, but they are talking about it. So that's significant enough. But yeah, with that, I see Stu in the chat here says Carnival, and of course hello Brady as always.
Cool.
But yeah, I'm definitely most excited to see Carnivals. We've been getting a lot of hints and little teases of Royal Caribbean, but I'm definitely most excited for Carnival to see what they can do with the 200,000 ton type ship. But to get started, of course, Disney Cruise Line. This is the most Disney thing I have ever heard. Announcing a brand new class of ship and just a giant ship order at 1 a.m. on a Sunday night.
Yeah,
that's so typical of them.
That like typical Disney.
Yeah, it is interesting though to see them expanding the way that they are right now, because if you think about it, they had Magic and Wonder, and then it was 10 plus years until they came out with the next two, and now it seems like all of a sudden they're flying through these orders.
Boom.
It's great to see that they're expanding, but it's just it's different for Disney to be doing that with their cruise industry. So good to see it.
And right on cue, here's Belle jumping up on the desk. But yeah, like you said, from Magic and Wonder, which was I think 98, 99. It took them from essentially 1999, so over 10 years to 2009. So 2011 or 2012 was the Disney Dream, and so it really took them like over 10 years, almost 12, 13 years to go from 2 ships to 4 ships. But now within the span of 2022, and we got Wish. So from Wish, or before Wish, we had 4 ships, but now from Wish, through 2025, really, we're going from 4 to 8 ships. We're doubling the size of the fleet within the span of like 3 years, but tripling the size of the fleet within the span of 10, technically. It's insane.
Yeah.
And they're getting into it's not really their home-built project necessarily, but they're getting into the 200,000 ton space, which is crazy. All of the major cruise lines now are getting into it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that seems to be coming, getting closer to the norm for ships. Eventually 100,000 became the norm, but like you saw the Destiny hit it, you're like, oh my god, 100,000.
Yeah.
And then they slowly caught up to that, and now 200 seems to be that middle ground for all these new ships that are coming out.
Yeah, for sure. And like the funny thing is, like you mentioned, with Destiny coming out, it was like, oh my god, 100,000 tons. My grandfather, used to make videos or like take videos. He'd take a little camcorder on all of his cruises when I was like really little, and he went on one of the inaugural sailings for the Destiny, and in his video, he's like looking at the ship. He goes, "This thing is so big, like you can't even capture the whole ship in one frame." And I'm like, this thing is so tiny now compared to a normal ship. Like there's things 2.5 times the size of it now, and that used to be like, that was a absolute marvel to see. Something over 100,000 tons, like. And then, of course, Royal Caribbean and Royal Caribbean Fashion went, oh, here's something 35% larger with the Voyager class. But it's crazy to think about, like, yeah, that like back then, 20 years ago, ships were barely over 100,000 tons. Whereas now everything's becoming 200 plus thousand tons. And a lot of people are going 250 now, it seems like.
Yeah, for real.
But I guess jumping back towards like Disney specifically, I don't think we're going to be seeing anything 200,000 tons, at least out of this next gen project. Of course, we have the Disney Adventure coming soon, but I wouldn't really call that the next gen. That's more of just like a one-off project here that they're going to release next year. But these next gen ships, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe they're just ever so slightly smaller. I've been hearing rumblings of them being just slightly bigger as well. I've heard, there's a potential of, 110, 120,000 tons, which is smaller than, which I guess technically is right in between the Magic and Wonder and the Disney Dream class. But I've also heard 150, which is, I think the Triton class, the Wish class are right at 140, 142-ish. Maybe just slightly bigger, but 150 is kind of what I would expect.
I mean, you also have to think that what can Mayor Worft fit? Okay, they've obviously done Encore, so they can fit 170. Will they push it all the way up there?
Yeah. The biggest they've done is Jubilee.
Jubilee, that's right. So, that's, I mean, what?
Wish is 144. Okay, yeah. I knew it was about 140-ish. So, yeah, I mean, 150 would be kind of... I think a 150, Disney ship would be really awesome. Like, that's a perfect size. For me, that's kind of like my sweet spot for a ship. 150 to 160, maybe even 170. Like, that's a really good size ship.
Agreed.
Not too big, not too small. Perfect size to, put, a lot of things on it, but not too much.
I agree with that. I mean, that's like the size of Getaway and Breakaway class.
Yeah, I'm referencing, Freedom class and Breakaway Plus class specifically. Those are like right in that range between those two classes in size are perfect.
Yeah, I agree. I think, especially with the Freedom class now and what they've been doing with them, with like the weekend cruises, I think it's the perfect size ship to just about do anything. Obviously it might not be able to get into some of these like really unique ports, but there's a lot of options for a Freedom class ship or, Breakaway class ship. So if they can kind of, I don't know. They eventually, I think they're going to start focusing on smaller, we say smaller ships, but it'll be maybe closer to that.
Right. I think so too. And that it's funny that you say that, because like I feel like a lot of people a lot of companies are going big, like these giant mega ships, but then there's also, the other companies that are saying, like Royal Caribbean and possibly even Disney seeing, depending on what they end up doing with this, because they haven't really announced the tonnage of it, but they're potentially going smaller, and it seems like Royal Caribbean's going to go that way, but it's like polar opposites on certain companies in the industry right now, but it seems like the overwhelming majority are going to go bigger.
I don't think they can go wrong with either, though.
Oh, absolutely.
Sure, maybe bigger will be a bigger like cash hog, however they do it. But I think anything that comes out now, that's gonna just grab people's attention.
I think that's kind of the holdup with Project Discovery is they're not the big cash hogs like the Icon and the Oasis class. Those are extreme, like probably some of the most profitable ships of all time. And you go from putting those two out to something smaller that's not really quite as profitable, I mean, that's still a big hit for the company. I mean, why would the shareholders want that, and why would, the company want that? Like, yeah, let's put out a product that's not going to make us as much money. Yeah, it might be a little bit more on the consumer friendly side, but probably be more on the niche consumer friendly side. I mean, there's only so many people. Yeah, I think it'd be a good idea, and I think it'd be a cool idea to build these smaller ships like Project Discovery. But there's only a limited amount of people within Royal Caribbean's fan base and their loyalty base that are actually going to want something like that. I would say at least 60, maybe even 75% of Royal Caribbean's fan base right now and their consumer base are going on the Icon class, they're going on the Oasis class, Freedom class, even Quantum class to an extent, with all the crazy itineraries those ones are doing. But I think that, it'd be really weird to see what they end up doing with Project Discovery.
I think it's a two-edged sword. A lot of people, they go on Oasis class or they go on Icon for the ship. Like the ship itself is the destination. Like that's what you're paying for. But if you bring out like a smaller class of ship, like even with Norwegian with the Prima and stuff, Iceland,
you don't
UK,
get that on the Icon.
Greece, like stuff like that, you're never going to go there. So the destinations are the destination. So there's like I said, there's a two-edged sword. You're going to get one kind of cruiser and you're going to get the other kind of cruiser.
Right. But how big is that consumer base though? That's like kind of my biggest thing. Like how big is that consumer base that really wants only to go on these 9, 11, 12, 15 night cruises on a regular basis? How big is that consumer base that actually wants to do that on a regular basis?
I mean, you can do it with 7s, but no, I completely understand.
I get that.
Even like the Iceland ones are 11, 14 day, like they're crazy.
Right. I mean, how often are you going to fill up a ship that does that many? That's, I'm not against the Project Discovery. I think that's what's their biggest challenge with those is, I like the idea, but it's going to be really hard to kind of execute properly on that because of, what they're actually trying to accomplish. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It definitely is not an idea that's going to sell a lot, like the Oasis and the Icon.
It's not their first rodeo, so whatever they do, they've thought about it 2 and 3 times more than we.
I think they're still thinking about it. I'm sure.
I see in the chat Carnival smaller ships. If Carnival goes back to smaller ships, that market is dead for them.
Yeah, I think the thing with Royal Caribbean versus Carnival too is Royal Caribbean has such a big lead right now in the industry. Like they honestly, it seems like they don't care what the competition's doing. Like from what it seems like, even with the rumblings of NCL and MSC building something comparable, if not ever so slightly bigger than Icon, it doesn't seem like, believe it or not, it doesn't seem like Royal Caribbean actually cares. Like they weren't trying to go for the world's largest with Icon, but it just kind of happened. Oops. but it doesn't, it seems like Royal Caribbean is more of like, hey, we're putting out a banger of a project right now, and we're killing everybody right now. So like we don't really care what they're doing because, should they care? Absolutely. But it seems like they've got such a lead that they really don't, right now at least, they don't really mind what the competition's doing.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, like with Carnival, like they need to catch up and they need to build the bigger ships, the better ships, and
Carnival definitely does.
Yeah, Carnival does. I think NCL.
Fine.
Yeah, MSC's making a name for themselves by building these giant behemoths of ships. So if they build even bigger, I think they're just going to make even more of a name for themselves. But I feel like Carnival is especially, I wouldn't even say it's because the Project XL was a failure. It absolutely wasn't. That was probably easily their most successful project of all time. But it's just that there's so much gap in between, the XL class and then the remaining 2, and then of course this. I think once these the last 2 XL class come out, it's going to be, you know, off to the races for Carnival. But like right now, they're in such like a weird lull of a period that Royal Caribbean's just running away from them.
100%.
And then,
Well,
you know, referencing
continue.
Disney, like, you know, with Disney, you know, whatever size these end up being,
That's crazy for Disney.
yeah, like whatever size they end up building, like it doesn't matter for them. It really, I mean, it doesn't matter because Disney's a different fan base. Right, Disney's a different fan base. Yeah, it's still a cruise ship, but it's a different thing. They kind of do their own thing and they still do it well no matter what they do. And so whatever these ships end up being, it's going to be good for them.
Do you think they're going to, like, how, I guess, I don't know, whichever of the new one, Destiny or Treasure, it's like Marvel themed? You're going to have like a theme for each ship? Or you think they're just going to put them out and just have different venues and change the names of them?
I think they kind of do that already as far as like the vibes or like trying to do different theming and focus. Like I know the Treasure actually has like a little bit of, you know, exploration and just like, you know, pirate-ish theme. Like I know like the slide alone has like, you know, it's like you're on a little treasure hunt. I know that like that's at least the slide itself. But like there's different like themed areas and stuff like that, or it seems maybe I don't think there's anything Pirates of the Caribbean or anything like that, but I think, you know, there's just certain areas that feel more, you know, the old school, like, or not old school, but like really like old shipping type of stuff, you know, that, you know, during like the treasure hunting type days, you know, centuries ago.
Captain Hook.
Yeah, Captain Hook. I think there's a Captain Hook themed area. I'm pretty sure there is a Captain Hook themed area on the ship.
Sweet.
But yeah. But then, yeah, we've kind of like dabbled into, you know, into the next generation project for Royal Caribbean, like right now, you know, Project Discovery, of course, but like, what do you guys think, like, or what are your expectations out of something like that, or what do you guys think that class is going to offer?
I think they're really gonna, at least this is what I hope they do, you know, because they're specifically saying this class is going to replace the older ships that they have, so basically the Vision class and the Radiance class.
Right.
So I would like to see something relatively close to at least the Radiance class. Like I would hate for them to say that and then come out with something that's like in between Voyager and Freedom, you know, like that would kind of defeat the purpose of it. So I would like for them to do something small, because then they have the opportunity to, you know, obviously it'll be a new ship, but then they can incorporate these newer ideas that they've put on these newer ships and put it on a smaller ship, because a lot of these smaller ships don't have the room for these different venues. And obviously you're not going to go on a ship the Radiance class size and put a Central Park or a boardwalk. Like, you know, you're obviously not going to see that stuff.
Yeah.
But you can take different venues and maybe it could have a flow rider that those ships don't have. Like little things like that. That way it'll be more attractive to, you know, people that want to do these short getaways. And they're like, well, we might as well just go on Utopia or Allure or Freedom, you know, but then you'll have a smaller ship that's still up in that class now because it's new.
Right, exactly. And there's also the efficiency side of it too. Like, yeah, these, you know, like I mentioned earlier, like they're probably not going to be nearly as profitable as the big boys right now, but you're also, by rolling these in, you're rolling out, you know, or phasing out the, you know, the ones that already take that same exact place, but these are just a little bit more cost effective for them. Because they're newer. They have, you know, probably, I don't know if they'll be LNG, to be honest with you, just because they're wanting to do more adventurous itineraries, which is why the Prima class actually is not natural gas, is because they do the more adventurous itineraries. But by rolling out stuff that's older, less cost efficient, things like that, and rolling in the ones that are, I mean, just having a ship that's new on that itinerary is just going to be, that's going to save them money by itself, because they're not spending so much in like the maintenance costs, the fuel costs, and things like that. I mean, the new ships are going to run a lot more efficient, to where, you know, they're using better fuel but less fuel, and they're also not having to send them into dry dock every 2 to 3 years for maintenance.
Right, exactly. Yeah, the upkeep will be just a lot better in general.
Right, exactly. Like it costs a lot to maintain, especially like once they hit 20 years old. I think it goes from a 5-year dry dock period to, I think it's either 2.5 or 3 years. So you have to upkeep these a lot more frequently once you get to that point too, and they're almost some of these are already there actually.
Mm-hmm.
They are.
So it'll be really interesting to kind of see what they do, and kind of like Justin mentioned earlier, it'd be good to see them go with a Radiance class design, and or not even design, but like that size, like for that appeal and that type of ship and market and everything like that. And of course, yeah, you can do more with it. The current Vision class ships, I think they installed a rock wall on them eventually throughout their lifespans, but like they're not built to have the big water parks put on there. But if you design something from the ground up that has a dedicated area, like we're gonna put a rock wall here, we're gonna put a water slide here, or something like that, like that makes more sense because it was designed to be there. Whereas it's not like we're adding something 20 years later. It's hard to fit something on these ships because it's not designed to do that.
True. Right. Exactly. And even like when I was when I toured Serenade, you can see like there's spaces that are underutilized, but at the same time you can't really go in there and put like a restaurant where a lounge is. Like the ship just doesn't have that, the room for it. So like you said, instead of just having an older ship and trying to fit things here and there, the newer ships, even though they'll be closer in size to that, it'll be built in to the actual structure of the ship. So you'll have a really nice smaller ship that pretty much replaces what they have now.
You can't just take like your standard lounge where you would play bingo and throw a playmakers in there. Like there's a whole, I mean, on paper or like just visually spitballing ideas, like you could just throw a playmakers in there, but like you got to think the logistical side of it and just like the practicality side of it. Like you have to have the whole crew area behind it. You have to have the kitchen, you have to have the galley, you have to have the bar and the services side of things. Like you can't just throw something in there, and you'd have to probably just bring stuff in from like a separate area just to have a restaurant in a certain area. So like there is the logistical side of it. You can't just throw something somewhere and expect it to work. So it'll be definitely very interesting.
This equation is that you're building more ships, you're adding to your fleet, maybe you sell off old ones, sure. But I mean, you can't have all your ships in, let's say 4 or 5 main ports in, Florida, New York, Texas, and things. So I mean, you got to utilize these smaller ports. I mean, I don't want to say Mobile. I mean, obviously Tampa, Jacksonville.
Yeah,
I mean,
eventually those are
Boston, Norfolk. If they want to do Bermuda, or even have the chance of sending a new ship to Alaska. Sure, Celebrity Edge isn't the biggest and the best, but it's a brand new ship and people love it and it's doing great.
Right, exactly.
I think they just got to utilize all those other ports, because you can't have how many ships you're going to have going out on a Saturday or Sunday, for a 7-day.
Right. I will say, especially like to your point, Edge going to Alaska, like that's a perfect size ship for an itinerary like that. Like, there might be some places that are a little bit too big, or it might be too big for, but like it's not really even in that sweet spot. Like I mentioned earlier, like I think even the Excel and like the Ascent are only like 140s maybe, and
they're smaller.
I think the actual Edge and Apex are like a little bit smaller, like 120 something or 130. But like those are not small by any means, but they're not even considered a big ship, which is crazy to think about because they're pretty big, but not too big. But I think even if they did something like that, it probably would defeat the purpose of phasing out something like, the Radiance. But at the same time, like that's honestly all people need.
Agreed.
And then, of course, jumping over, because I see it in the chat here as well. But NCL's new project, I'm really excited to see. And to answer Anthony's question, has NCL named the new class of their after the Prima Plus? And to answer that, no, not yet. There's been like small little rumblings of maybe this size, things like that, but they haven't really come out. I know with the Prima class, they were like, yeah, we've ordered these, new ships. And then right after that, it was like, oh, yeah, this is Project Leonardo. They were pretty quick to show everything off for that design and that idea and that whole project. Like it was like the matter of weeks. They ordered those ships, and then all of a sudden we had renderings and a name for it, or at least a project name. I think there was definitely other leadership, in the company at that time, but still, kind of a different vibe around this one. Maybe they might be a little bit more secretive, and we're also, it's 2024 still, or halfway through 2024, but if I remember correctly, I think the first one comes out in either 29 or 30, right?
Yeah, they got some time.
There's a good 5 to 6 years until the first one even comes out, which I guess could be said about, with the Project Leonardo. They ordered those in like 2017 or 2018 maybe, and those came out just recently, and we're only going to get the third one of these, next year.
Sure.
But as far as size, like I'm very excited to see what they can do with 200,000 tons, because I think, there may have been a little bit of disservice to NCL. I think, yeah, their bread and butter is kind of these smaller ships and more, intimate cruise experiences and traditional cruise experiences. But yeah, again, mega ships are just where the industry's going, and I feel like they kind of missed out a little bit on that opportunity with the Prima class. Yeah, I think the final 4 are gonna make up for it a little bit by being bigger, and of course the last 2 are gonna be bigger than Encore. But like right now, I think they're playing a little bit of catch up, so it'll be interesting to see what they can really do with 200,000
They're definitely
tons.
come out banging now. They're not gonna let the competition beat them, because to be honest, between Carnival, Royal Caribbean, number 1, number 2, number 3, I would argue that MSC is battling them for third place.
Oh, absolutely. We even did a podcast on that, like maybe a couple months ago. Like, MSC's coming. They're coming for everybody, but like they're coming up pretty quickly on that number 3 spot on Norwegian. Like if Norwegian's not careful, I mean, obviously, they now have plans in place, since we've made that podcast, to put out 200,000 ton ships, what I think kind of, helps them get a little bit more of an edge over MSC. But yeah, MSC's coming up fast. I mean, they're coming up on Carnival too. If it weren't for the 200,000 ton ships from Carnival, I would say they're coming for Carnival. Oh, come on,
yeah,
cat.
for real. And they're starting to compete with them in Miami with they're gonna have that new terminal there, and they're gonna have their new ship going there. So it's funny to, I mean, logistically it had to be like that, but it's funny that you have, these some of the biggest cruise lines that are all coming out with new ships and stuff, and we talk about MSC, maybe catching up to them, and then you have MSC's terminal, Royal Caribbean's terminal, and Norwegian's brand new terminal all next to each other. So it really is like they are competing against each other.
Oh yeah.
100%.
Yeah, even Carnival's, yeah, theirs isn't as big and extravagant like the others, but I mean, even they did a brand new terminal, or at least they renovated and kind of started from the ground up almost, or at least, expanded a lot. I think they added the whole area, I think, to it, or like a bunch of areas to it.
Yeah, they added like a covered drop-off area, and I think they extended like the interior of the terminal and stuff. But they've got 3 terminals all back-to-back now. They've
That's
got
crazy.
D, E, and F.
Yeah. Yeah, my cat stepped on the computer and the screen went white for the stream here for a minute. She's been all over the desk. I was like, I saw her about to do it, and then I like kind of nudged her, and she still did it anyways.
Typical.
But I think.
Continue. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, while we're talking about Carnival, not just Carnival, but P&O and AIDA, or AIDA, however you call it, they just put in new orders too.
Yeah, did they confirm that? Yeah, I know it's been. I mean, I've heard a lot, outside of what's public, but there's I've heard a lot of rumblings, actually just rumor wise that they're working on something. I haven't heard anything of them ordering yet.
I mean, even if they do or if they don't order, but they're still adding new ships to those other lines, cool.
Right, exactly. I think a lot of people don't realized that Costa is actually not doing as bad as it is. I think it was more Carnival's trying to meet demand while they kind of while Costa kind of puts the pieces back together. MSC kind of did run them out of their own territory, but they're coming back. So they're working on it. Of course, I think they've kind of got their stuff together again, and Costa's finally coming back. I mean, I wouldn't have been surprised if one of these XL ships would have been a Costa ship, just given how far out that timetable is. But it seems like one of these out of this rumored project, which is kind of pretty far along the way from what I've been told, but or not far along, like far along in the talks and stuff like that. Like it could be an executed order pretty soon. But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Costa gets at least one of these.
Oh, I think they'll definitely get at least one. P&O, I think they'll all get one.
Yeah, at least. I think.
But I don't know about any more than that. Even
Yeah.
Ada, too. I think they'll all just kind of get one, see how it goes, and go from maybe two.
Right.
Like, because even the Excel, Toscana, and Smeralda, and then Iona, I guess Iona is the only one, and then Ida,
Right.
Perla, Nova, and Prima, there's three of those.
Right. I don't think AIDA needs anything, Project XL like from or like, Carnival has, or like they already have right now with the AIDA Nova and the Cosma, which
So there's four of those.
well, the Prima and the Perla are smaller, but like they're like 120, 28, 25-ish, but the AIDA Nova and the Cosma are the 180s out of the Project XL.
And the Prima.
No,
You
the
said
Prima.
Perla, so there's three.
The Perla and the Prima are about 125 or 130, I think, or somewhere between there.
Got it.
They're much smaller, much smaller. But yeah, I mean, I'm surprised like a smaller line like AIDA has 180,000 ton ships. I really didn't think they were going to do that.
Yeah, that's interesting.
But I guess they were supposed to have three, but now there's three instead of Carnival, or like there's three Carnival ones now instead of AIDA, which Jubilee was originally for AIDA.
That's crazy. I'm surprised that they wouldn't want to have three for Carnival to start.
Yeah.
It kind of seems like recently, at least their trend. There was 3 Dream class, 3 Vista class. Now there's 3 XL class. So yeah, that was interesting.
Soon to be 5, but yeah, originally a plan for yeah. It seems like they're kind of breaking the norm too, because this next project there's gonna be 4. Well,
Right.
They ordered 3. There's a lot of talk beforehand of there being 4, so I wouldn't have been surprised at all if maybe there's just like a lingering option for a 4th one. Or maybe that'll go to a different line, but it seems like there probably will end up being 4. I wouldn't be surprised, at least.
Yeah, neither would I. They're expanding very quickly, Carnival, especially with their new island or private areas. So
Yeah, exactly. And I think the XL ships that are coming for them are going to be perfect for that, for those weekend cruises.
Oh, for sure. They have the opportunity to do something really good and catch up to what Royal Caribbean's been kind of taking a hold of over the last couple of years. So
yeah, exactly. And especially because these are supposed to be the size of Oasis, like right in the middle size-wise.
Yeah.
But yeah, and kind of jumping back to Norwegian, like, what do you we'll get to back to Carnival here in a minute, but like, what do you really think we're gonna see, or like, what can Norwegian do really with a 200,000 ton ship? I know with the Prima class, they really kind of went away from
go-kart track.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, they went from the thrilling ropes courses, go-kart tracks, laser tag arenas, things like that, and they're kind of doing away with that with the Prima class. But like, if you're going to do away with something like that, then what are you going to do with 200,000 tons worth of space? You know what I mean?
Maybe this will be their opportunity to just do something completely different than what they've been doing. Like, so they obviously won't, look at it the way like the Oasis class was. Before they had the Royal Promenade, they had that opening in the middle. They had the flow riders and the adults only area. But then when Oasis came out, they had stuff on the ship that people had never seen. It was completely different. So I wonder if NCL. I don't know if they're even capable of it, but maybe this is their opportunity to do something pretty crazy, and people are like, "Wow, I can't believe that's on a cruise ship."
Right, exactly. I mean, they had that little era for that. I mean, they did that with the ropes courses. Like, yeah, Carnival's the first to do it, but like, they had a really cool ropes course.
Right.
They had
Oh,
the biggest ropes course, and of course, like they had the zip line, the little planks,
Yeah.
things like that. I mean, they were the ones to
do
really
that.
do a lot of that. Taking an extra step. And of course, who would have imagined they would have put a go-kart track on a cruise ship? Yeah, they're doing away with it.
definitely would have.
I thought we were going to see the roller coaster first.
Yeah.
Obviously,
for
we
sure.
now we have a roller coaster too, but I didn't think we would get a go-kart track before a roller coaster.
Yeah.
I didn't think that was possible.
Yeah, logistically, you're like, how would they even do that? Like, go-kart tracks have so much space; they're on firm ground. But they did it, and they from the initial one, they made them bigger, which is even more crazy.
Yeah, which to Dimitri's point of like no go-kart tracks, with the Prima class, yeah, they went to a smaller ship, so it took up so much more space. But with 200,000 tons, I mean, maybe they'll bring it back. I don't know, because you have so much more space to work with.
Right.
Yeah, you have a lot more room, and if you stack it like they did on Prima, then that's even better. I mean, that was their way of saving space, but making the track bigger is stacking it. 3 stories. Yeah, the Prima is still too small in the first place to even be trying to put that on there. But I mean, my point is they have so much more space to work with that maybe they can do a little bit better job with their allocation of space if they were to bring that back.
Yeah, and even I'm big into water parks. I love water parks, and I know it's nothing new for the cruise industry, especially with the ships these days have some crazy water parks. But it would be really cool if they did a water park, but it was like twice the size of what Icon had.
Something you can do that with Aqua.
Yeah.
Put like icons, that huge water park, put a big ropes course, surrounding it, do like a big action area. Sure,
Right,
it'll have a
exactly.
Bring back the ropes
on the
course.
inside.
Bring back the ropes course.
Just go huge on it, on everything.
Yeah.
Just it might be something that's always it's nothing new, but if you make it, size matters sometimes when it comes to things like this. So I'm just saying. But it would be really cool if they did like a legit big water park.
Yeah, that would be honestly really cool. And I feel like that's going to be the biggest appeal with, they could easily do that. And that'd be so cool if they could incorporate it into the ropes course. Like, I think MSC did that with the Meraviglia. Like, they have like it's kind of like shorter.
Water park. That's so cool.
It surrounds the water park.
Yeah.
To where I think like you can fall from the ropes course into the water and like into the pool below it, I think, if I'm not mistaken, which is kind
Even
of
on
cool.
Seascape, that's how it was. I don't know if you could go straight into the pool. The pool's kind of in the middle, but
I feel like that would be a little bit of a safety hazard if you're not harnessed in. Like, you
Nah.
could just jump straight in there, but like, it's there. But I think that's the focus, I think, is trying to top, some of the things is, that Icon's doing, or even improve on what Icon's doing, or take, maybe like the 2 things. I couldn't even think of 2 things that Icon didn't do well, or like they didn't do, but like take a few things that maybe you missed out on with Icon and like offer that on your ship, but do it even better.
Right. For sure.
So I think the water park is going to be a big focus on, the project for Carnival. But I think NCL could easily do it. They've proven themselves to already make really good water parks in the past. Even the Prima has really good slides. I mean, I haven't been on it, but like they have a really cool like, raft slide that kind of has that little wall almost, kind of like the Icon has. But they also have the slides that go down the side. And of course, like the Breakaway Plus ships have the ones that go out over the side, like they kind of loop out, and the free fall slides, like they know what they're doing when they're building water parks. So I mean, yeah, that's not. I mean, that's a lot more kid friendly and kid focused and thrill focused, which is kind of the opposite of the vibe it seems like with the Prima class. But when you got that kind of real estate, I mean, you should be appealing to all markets, I think, and I think that's what NCL needs to do with their project.
It'd be nice if they did a similar, or just a more, what's the word I'm looking for? Like an adults only area. Like they kind of have one now, but like it'd be nice if they did something like what Royal Caribbean has, like on the Oasis class.
Something that's a little bit better, and it's not hidden behind a $10,000 paywall like the Haven.
Right.
You know, the Haven, and then you've got also the Vibe Beach Club. Offer one, because you have the Vibe Beach Club and Haven that take up like 50% of the deck space on the Prima, and you have a giant go-kart track that takes up another 30%. So like you're left with like next to no deck space on the Prima class right now. Right now. Obviously the Aqua is going to be done a little bit better, but yeah.
I hope they focus on the pool deck on this new class. Like I hope they make it a legit pool deck.
And don't monetize the living daylights out of it. I get pleasing the shareholders, but your customers, I mean, your customers are upset because they literally have to go
spread them out.
Yeah, I mean, your customers have to pay basically for a freaking deck chair. It seems like on the Prima class, like there's like 20 deck chairs in the main public pool area, and that's like that's it. Like the rest, you're gonna have to pay to go to the Vibe Beach Club. You're gonna have to pay to go into the Haven. You're gonna have to pay a very big penny to go into the Haven. So, I mean,
right?
Yeah, I think with extra deck space, I think it's perfect for them because they can have those areas, but they won't take up the entire ship like they do right now.
Right. Exactly. Bingo.
Yeah, I'm looking in the chat. Yeah, MSC, the Evo class, one buffet, it was okay, but I do agree that I think what they're doing with the Prima, where they have like the food court kind of thing, I think that's going to grow in popularity by a ton on any of these newer ships. Just a secondary eating quick option. I know in Utopia, they got like the little food truck looking thing that I know, Brandon, you're going
food
on Friday.
Trucks. I'm going. It's my little birthday present. I'm going on the Utopia this week. My little birthday present. We're getting hibachi for my birthday. Even though it's today, we're going. We're going while we're on the cruise.
Nice.
I love hibachi. But yeah, I love the food truck idea. Again, it's trendy. That's what like people, millennial and like Gen Z-ish, like that's the stuff they like. Like my apartment complex, they have food trucks like every week, and there's always people going to them.
Yeah, food trucks are pretty hip. I used to go to one in Miami before I came up to school up here, and fire.
Yeah, for sure. And thank you so much, Brady, for the $6.90 super chat. Thank you so much. It says congrats on the record number of people on the viewing the podcast right now. We're doing pretty great. We currently have about 16 people watching right now, which is pretty good for us.
Oh my god, that's actually crazy.
Watching us live, that's pretty great.
Yeah, watching us look like idiots.
Yeah, but we got a fun. I mean, this has been a really fun topic to talk about. We've already been talking for over 45 minutes, and we haven't even gotten into Carnival yet, which is probably one that I'm most excited for because I think, I think there's a lot of potential behind it. But speaking of food trucks, and I think there's a lot of potential for that with Carnival's project. But if I'm not mistaken, this project with NCL is also through Fincantieri, is it not?
I don't know.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, I feel like it's going to be just like the Carnival one. I mean, technically it's not confirmed, but Fincantieri's put out, that seaside look, that I think, what is it called? Project Mile or Project Smile or something like that. But like, that's what their ships look like ever since 2017. So I'm expecting, I guess now the NCL ship, but also the Carnival ship. I'm wondering if they're going to share a lot of design characteristics because they're coming from the same shipyard and they're roughly the same size, maybe, plus or minus a few thousand tons. But I wonder if they're going to end up looking kind of similar.
I'm sure there will
But
be
There are
certain
differences.
features that are similar.
Yeah.
That tends to happen.
Yeah, and I see someone mentioned the indulged food hall that's in the Prima class. I could see that being moved out. Like, and again, they have food trucks on the Prima class or just kind of indoors. But if you have that really big, wide open, because Carnival and NCL are both very like known for how they like to utilize that as outdoor spaces down at the bottom of the ships and those lanai and waterfront areas. Like, put the food trucks out there. I'm expecting it, especially
That
with a
would
ship
be
this
really
side.
cool.
Yeah, exactly. Like with a ship this size, I'm expecting those waterfront type areas to be massive. Like these are probably going to be very, very wide ships. I mean, I wouldn't even be surprised if we see them being a little bit wider than Icon, just because they're going to have the narrow structure. So like the tonnage wise, it could end up being a little bit wider that way. But like with all that kind of real estate down there, put a couple food trucks down there. That'd be so cool.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure.
And they'll definitely have a mall in the middle of some sort.
Yes, I think so too.
Why not, right?
Exactly.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I think it would be really interesting to see kind of what they can pull off with things like that, and kind of moving into a Carnival a little bit. Carnival again is the one I'm kind of most looking forward to. I know a little bit about what's going on, but again, I'm expecting this to be something kind of not obviously one-to-one with the MSCC side, but like MSCC side, Virgin Voyages, the Prima class right now, like those are all, and even the Sun Princess, those are all technically that same project or the same style of ship coming from Fincantieri. They're all built there. So like, why would they? It's my cat's messing with the mic again. Why wouldn't they continue doing that? I mean, it's been a very popular design project for a lot of different cruise lines. I mean, I'm assuming that's what these are going to look like, and to an extent, or just some sort of variant of that. So, I mean, what could Carnival do, other than that food truck design? Like, what could they do with that outdoor area in the back? I know they like to do the Havana areas, which I think they did a pretty good job on the XL class with those. But they kind of focus those more towards the front. Like, obviously, there's probably a huge area in the back. Like, what else could you do other than like the food truck designs? And maybe I don't think they would do a adults only area back there.
Right.
I think they have definitely a lot of connections with like Shack, Guy's Burgers, that
Yes.
Italian guy, that they'll come up with some sort of concept.
Yeah.
Maybe like
I
a frozen
think,
ice thing, or stuff like that will make up for it.
Right, exactly. I think, come on, she's like chewing on all the cords now. She's been such a pain today. I don't know what her deal is.
It's your birthday, that's why.
Yeah, for real. She's like, it's your birthday. I'm going to cause chaos in your podcast. And now she's in front of the screen. But like, I think with a project like this, and especially if they were to do something like a food truck design, a Guy's Burger food truck, a Shack's Chicken food truck, and then of course put them up on the top deck as well. But I think a ship like this in this size, it's kind of warranted to put two. Don't you think? That was the one downside of Mardi Gras, is I had to go all the way up to the top deck. If I like the outdoor areas on the bottom, but I had to go all the way up to get a Guy's Burger and bring it all the way down. Why not put another one down there?
Or you, those steps.
I know.
That
But like,
I know.
I make a fair point though. Yeah, like how dare I take steps on a ship? Give me one of those mobility scooters, scooting around.
Give me.
I am not burning off these calories. These cruise calories do not count. I am not walking anywhere. But like, I mean, a ship that size, I mean, it would be kind of warranted to have some sort of extra Guy's Burger joint.
That would definitely be unique. You don't really see that on ships having the same venue in two different spots. But I guess if the ship's big enough, why not, right?
Yeah. That's kind of what they said with the Pinnacle project. If the ship's big enough, why not put a monorail on there? I mean,
Well,
God,
yeah.
of the things that I have heard, the monorail is not one of them. So I mean,
What a shame.
I've been told nothing's impossible, but I have told that is not on the idea book at the moment. So who knows? But I would love to see that. That would be so cool if they actually brought that to fruition one day.
For real.
And then the top deck of the ship, obviously, like, I mean, there's got to be. I think the roller coaster is going to come back. I think it's going to be a new and improved and new design of a roller coaster, whether it's a traditional, like, you know, a side by side type roller coaster rather than the front behind, like the single rail. You know, we could see like an actual, like a dual rail, like your typical roller coaster. Could see something like that. There's a lot of real estate up there. I'm assuming so. I mean, they could do so much with that space. So they could probably put a really big roller coaster up there, and of course the water park's not even in question yet. But like we could do so much. Thank you, thank you, Stu. But yeah, like they could do so much.
I agree.
Fun. Their slogan is to choose fun, so hopefully we'll choose them for the fun.
Exactly. Like their big thing was the like the roller coaster on the XL class, but I think that's going to come back. But I think they still have something up their sleeves that we may not even know about, or of course we don't really.
You think the roll? You said they're going to bring it back. Or you think they're going to bring it back?
I'm assuming they will.
You think it'll come back the same, or will it have a different layout?
It'll definitely have a new layout. Is what I'm saying is like it'll have a different layout. It may even be bigger. I'm assuming it'll be bigger, but they also could do, you know, like your typical roller coaster has like two rails. You know, they sit side by side. You know, to where like, you know, I'm assuming you could put 4 people in a car, and you know, so like 2 in the front, 2 in the back. I'm assuming.
That would be quite the roller coaster.
That would be quite the roller coaster. I mean, again, if you've got more space than you would have on the XL class, which it's 230,000 tons. It's about the size of the Oasis. You've got the space. So, like, they could do it.
Will Carnival, what will they do in the middle? Will they do a boardwalk? Is that where they'll put all the what do you call it, the shacks, chicken, and guys burgers, or how do you think they're going to execute that? Are they going to put a carousel, or are they going to do something different?
They should.
Yeah. I'm definitely interested to see what they kind of do, like with the middle portion of the ship. I'm assuming it'll probably keep the same layout where the water park stays kind of near the funnel, and we'll see kind of what they do with the roller coaster. I'm assuming it'll kind of stay in the back, maybe wrap around the funnel like it normally does. But like in the middle, I mean, there's still they love their deck space up. They love their sail away parties. I mean,
I was gonna say they're gonna have to have a place to do that. They're gonna have to have a main pool deck. So maybe only the back half will be open, and you know the front half will be closed, as in the split superstructure, so they can still have a huge pool deck.
Yeah. Do you think they'll do a split superstructure on these?
For Carnival?
Yeah. I mean, it's 200,000 tons. We haven't seen anything over 200,000. Or yeah, over.
Obviously, Oasis has it. Icon has it. World Europa has it. I mean,
right.
I don't know. I don't think they can go wrong either way. Right. Either you do the big decks on the outside or you do the big deck on the inside. So tomato, to be honest.
That's true. And yeah, with that kind of I mean, if you don't split the structure, then you've got so much real estate up on the pool deck to do so much stuff. I mean, yeah, you can do even more. And of course, you got to put the buffet somewhere too. But I mean,
Deck 1.
Yeah. So I know right now it seems to be a trend. I know Royal Caribbean seems to be the main people that do it, but like, do you think we'll see like that asymmetrical like pool deck style?
That seems to be sorry, my eye itches. That seems to be the trend, I guess. You know.
Yeah.
Celebrity did it. Royal Caribbean did it. I
don't really know of anyone else that's doing it right now, but. I mean, it's not possible, or it's not impossible. I mean, it seems to be something that a lot of cruise lines are doing. I wouldn't be surprised if NCL does the same thing.
Right. I could see NCL doing it. That sounds like something they would do.
It seems really cool. It's a really cool thing. Like having experienced it on Icon too, it was pretty neat. It was weird, yeah, but having that, having like a different like layout, like it was super weird and it was hard to get used to for like the first 2 to 3 days. But I think the asymmetrical design is pretty unique and pretty cool. If that starts to come out like on future ships as well.
Right. Yeah. I think it looks kind of weird, but I haven't been on a ship that has
Yeah.
it, so I don't want to say for sure, but just looking at it, I think it looks a little weird.
It's definitely looks a little bit weird once you kind of spend about a day or two feeling it out. Kind of, it definitely you get used to it. And it's actually kind of cool.
Right.
But yeah.
Interesting.
And
Very
then like the interior of the ship. I mean, we've only been talking about like the outdoor spaces, like what they could do as far as like roller coasters and other attractions. Like, do you think we're gonna see like a Grand Central like we do on the XL class ship, or are we gonna see a cookie cutter design of the XL project, or do you think we're gonna get an all new layout and what that could look like?
I would like.
Uh,
Go ahead, Dimitri.
Sorry, I was just gonna say they'll definitely have something like that similar, or even maybe double it in size, and maybe just have more. And how about something that's 3 stories? You don't have the central park on top. Make it taller. Make it feel more grand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Open up the whole
Maybe
area.
do like a atrium center area in the center. Like I know Icon has the Pearl, but maybe do like what they did on Vista, a big screen funnel thing or something interesting in the
Right.
middle of it. Not just a long hallway of shops and stuff.
Right, exactly. Like they could really do, a variety of things with that kind of space, but like, yeah, I mean, they could just expand to the current Grand Central areas, or they can kind of just completely do it differently. I mean, again, probably wouldn't do a 1-for-1 like a Royal Promenade. Um, but yeah, open up, bring back the big open atriums that go all the way up. That's
like
one
that
thing I
idea.
miss. I
like
think
that
they should bring
idea.
back the glass elevators. That's one thing I miss when they took those out of the
Dream class.
the Dream, or well, I guess the Vista class. The Dream class still has it technically, but
Yeah, but that was the last one.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, it kind of stunk not having them on the Vista class, and even on the Mardi Gras. The Mardi Gras elevators are like tiny, which is super weird. There's a lot of them, but they're big enough for like 2 people in them. But they
It would be
could
cool.
really do so much.
Right.
So-
Yeah, it would be cool if they had that, atrium again, and they had the glass roof, and then it opened up towards the bottom into like a Grand Central type area with like the windows on the side that looks out. Like that would be so nice. That whole like vibe.
So you say that is actually, and I feel like this could end up being their modernized Pinnacle project, because again, that was a 200,000 ton roughly project. This could be this finally coming to fruition to an extent. Obviously, a lot of major changes, obviously, but and definitely not even close in the design, I'm assuming, but it did have the big wide open deck space at the bottom, like the Prima class, the Seaside class. But one of the big ideas from that, and of course we saw it on the Spirit class with Carnival, it was supposed to have a glass funnel, and that glass funnel was supposed to give all the light into the atrium. They could do it. They could finally actually like bring that to life and do it again. I mean, they kind of did it with the Spirit class, but like they could do it in that scale with this.
Yeah, imagine just picture that. Imagine having that whole lobby area opened up, or at least like on both sides there's those big windows and you can see out. But then you also have a big opening that shoots all the way to the top and also has a glass roof. It would make that whole area just feel so
Do the
open.
funnel or the atrium and go all the way up with it. That'd be bingo with the water slides up there and everything
Right.
surrounding it.
You could
Bingo.
see the water slides like outside. Like if they were to do like if they were gonna do the roller coaster in the back, maybe say like right in the front of the funnel, maybe, or even have the water park going like around the funnel even to an extent. But like you could see it all from the top.
Right.
and like, or hear me out.
Oh boy.
When I pitched hear me out. I said this in a previous podcast, like when we talked about like when they first announced this. But speaking of, seeing the water slides up there, like, through this glass funnel, I mean, even if they put it in the same spot of, I'm assuming they would have a glass portion in the back too. But what if they had the tubes of the water slide going into the glass, and like, so like you look up and you can see the actual water slide, not even like through the glass, you can just see the water slide as it's going through the glass. How sick would that be?
That would be.
I don't know where it would let out.
That would definitely be unique.
They do that actually. They do not through glass, obviously, but they do that with the Disney Dream.
Yeah, they do. They do that.
That'd be sick.
I think we need to get someone on the phone.
At Carnival, I've got ideas.
We have ideas. Get on the live podcast.
Get on the podcast here, Carnival. I have ideas.
Come on, Mickey Harrison. I took a picture with you. We're homeboys.
He likes my stuff all the time on Instagram. It's so funny. I'll get like also like he'll like a bunch of stuff like in a row too. If I put like anything Carnival, it's like, oh, Mickey Harrison liked your photo. I'm like,
yeah, for real. And he'll like my princess stuff too.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Now speaking of like another big thing, what are they going to do for entertainment? Are they going to have an aquadome? Are they going to have an aqua theater? Are they going to have spinning stage with confetti on it? I don't know. What are they?
I love the aqua theater vibe. I mean, obviously, I haven't done Icon, so I haven't been in the aqua dome, but I really love that outdoor amphitheater vibe. I love it. I love it.
That'd be cool if they did that, like with the outdoor. It might take up too much space because I know that again they love their real estate down there. But I think it would be pretty cool if they put a theater down there.
Yeah.
But I also think what they did with the Grand Central on the XL class, where it kind of like goes up one side like a couple stories. They have the big LED screens, the big the giant glass windows in the back to where they can just remove it. Throughout the day it's just natural light, but at night close it off and do the acrobatic shows. I mean, they could do that with a giant like atrium style, but I mean that would be really cool to kind of like see what type of entertainment they could do with an area like that. Like, yeah, the ship that big and that wide, probably pretty cool, and like probably a lot of opportunity there as far as entertainment. And I'm sure they'll keep the. If there's anything that Carnival will never get rid of, it is always the main theater is going to be at the very front of the ship, and they're always going to have a main dining room in the very back of the ship. So, like on the MSC, right? Even the XL class are like that. There's a main theater in the front, and there's a main dining room all the way in the back, and there's like the big glass windows that wrap around the back, and even the MSC Seaside class have that like that little window thing. They do something different with it. I think it's like a theater or something like back there, but like
it's the nightclub.
It's a nightclub. See, like. That type of area that's like right below the outdoor spot in the back. That's what they did on the XL class. If there's anything that Carnival will probably never get rid of layout wise, it's probably that. Like they're probably always going to have that dining room in the back.
Yes, classic cruising when you have your restaurant in the back. That's how it's supposed to be done.
That's just like for some reason Carnival will never get rid of that. The Vista class has it. The Dream class has it. I think even the Fantasy class have it. It's still back there. They just don't have the big windows that kind of wrap around. Right. And I see in the chat, Carnival needs an observation lounge. That would be super cool to see.
Ooh, that would be cool. That would be very nice.
I wouldn't be surprised to see that at all on Norwegian. Norwegian did it on the Prima class too. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised at all to see that on the next generation ship for NCL. But I'd love to see that in Carnival. That'd be so cool.
No, I think they'll definitely have something similar to that. I mean, unless they do an aqua dome with like a inside solarium type area up there as their private adults only area and combine the two.
Speaking of the dome,
here's with one stone there: observation lounge, entertainment venue, and adults only area. Boom, 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 and that front part of the
Entertainment
ship.
by night.
Boom.
Exactly. Something I recently found out, speaking of the Aquadome, is apparently, obviously, I feel like most people probably know that Icon was originally not supposed to be bigger than the Oasis class. 200,000 tons, yes, but not bigger than the Oasis class. But apparently the way they calculate tonnage on a ship has to do with some of the interior space, and the dome being as big as it is and as tall and like wide and large as it is, apparently that's where she got the majority of her tonnage, to where it to an extent it kind of does look like the Oasis class is bigger than the Icon class, but it's because of the Aquadome apparently that she gets all that extra tonnage.
Classic.
Interesting. Something I learned recently. But yeah. Anyways, yeah, it'll be really interesting to see kind of what they can do with this next generation project. And again, with everybody's really. But I think for me, because Carnival is going to go so big, obviously Project Discovery is extremely exciting to see what Royal Caribbean can do, just because, I mean, are they going to try to top the Icon class? Probably not with this one. They have a different idea in mind, but I'm excited to see what Discovery turns out to be. But I think because Carnival being, the big dog of the industry, and of course NCL is too, but I'd like to see that kind of rivalry come back, and that ambition that Carnival had in the late 90s with the Destiny. I'd like to see that come back. And I think this is kind of them reviving those quote-unquote good old days when they weren't afraid to spend some money.
For sure. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and same with NCL. I think, there's a lot of opportunity here. I don't think it was that they were afraid to spend money with the Prima class. I think they just kind of took a different route that it seems like Royal Caribbean's taking to a different, kind of a little bit differently. But, NCL kind of went smaller too, but, I think there's a lot of opportunity here in the 200,000 tons from NCL as well. Yeah. And it's not even, I mean, again, we didn't even touch on MSC. I mean, right now they have their world-class ships, but like they've been in touch, or apparently they're in conversations with cruise, the cruise ship builders. I think a couple of them, I think one of them came up as Meyer, where Icon class are being built right now, but apparently MSC has inquired with Meyer about building something bigger than Icon, so that'll be really interesting to see. That's really, MSC is really the only one right now that doesn't have a next gen project ordered, but knowing MSC and how aggressive they're being in the industry right now, I wouldn't be surprised if we have an order soon.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised either.
But yeah. So with that, again, Carnival's my highly anticipated one. I'm really excited to see what they can kind of do with that type of real estate and that kind of size. But what about you guys? Which one are you guys most excited to see?
I'm gonna stick with Norwegian. I mean, Carnival's pretty high up there, but I'm gonna stick with Norwegian because they had their issues with Prima, so it'll be interesting to see how they respond.
Yeah, I like that. I definitely am in line with that. I think again they probably had a few missteps, it seems like, with the Prima class, but overall, I mean, I think they have a lot of opportunity. Yeah. There's a lot of opportunity, I think, with the remaining Prima class because they're going bigger, but I think with something even bigger than that, I think as long as Norwegian executes properly, they could definitely put out like probably one of the best ships out there.
Right.
I feel like I know the answer, but what about you, Dimitri?
Mr.
NCL.
I'm excited for that, honestly.
NCL, yeah.
I mean, I really hope they don't mess it up. I mean, because if they do, MSC's, they're going right by them.
Right by them.
You know what? And the other thing is that these new islands are coming out too. Hopefully they take advantage of being able to go to those and stuff like that.
Because they will have a pier.
They will have a pier.
Yes, apparently our cruise on Joy, fun fact, the three of us are all going on the Joy in 2026.
Yes.
January of 2026. But so it's a little whiles away. But our sailing, not only is that sailing one of the first ones to that new pier in Great Stirrup Cay, which is going to be really cool, but we're also going to be one of the first ones out of the new terminal in Port Canaveral, which apparently is coming out sooner than they say. because they have 7 ships on schedule before that terminal is scheduled to come out. So they've got it. Like, I think they've already, if they haven't broken ground, they're going to be breaking ground like any day now. When I drive by that terminal, or where that terminal's site is, like, they've got everything pulled up to like get started on it, and they're going to be building that very quickly. So that's going to be a really cool ship to do in that cruise, just because we're going to be one of the first ones to that new terminal, but also to the new pier in Great Stirrup Cay. So I'm excited for that.
Yes.
100%. How about you,
Yeah.
Brandon?
What, like the project I'm looking forward to? Yeah. I think Carnivals, I think, I definitely agree, and I'm very excited for Norwegians. I think me just being somebody who grew up going on Carnival, I've kind of distanced myself a little bit from Carnival, which I'm glad to say that we're finally kind of getting back towards Carnival next year, with, I think 4 Carnivals booked right now, but I'm excited to see what this project comes out with Carnival. I think Carnival can really make a name for themselves and really reestablish themselves as number 1 in the industry, I think, if they really do a good job with this project. And that's why I'm excited to see what Carnival can do, because, again, pre-COVID, Carnival's number 1. Whether there were popularity, everybody has, their opinions about Carnival, but Carnival is number 1 regardless. Like, they were the number 1 cruise line in the world, and Royal Caribbean quickly took that away post-COVID, but I think if they execute this project properly, they can really pull that title back.
100%.
Definitely.
Yeah. So with that, thank you guys so much for hanging out for another podcast. Everybody here, I think we've got some pretty solid record numbers here for our live viewers. But if anybody, I love to see it. Thanks to everybody again for hanging out in our live chat and for the live. And of course, anybody that's listening here on Apple or Spotify, thank you for listening to this point. We'll see you guys next week for a review of the all new Utopia of the Seas, as I sail in her in just 2 days now. So we'll be reviewing her next week. So I hope to see you guys the next time, and have a great night, everyone.
Bye.
Peace out.